All right, people. So, as most people know, WWE Survivor Series 2020 is upcoming here on Sunday. And I kind of thought about, as I was sitting here on the weekend, should I watch it? Should I invest the time to watch it? Because I do have a couple days off work here on Monday and Tuesday. So, should I invest time to watch Survivor Series? Now, that thought is still going through my mind. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I just pulled up the card here. Oh, and by the way, I'm not gonna fucking buy the network. You could fuck that shit. First off, I made a video a few months back about how they charged me $10 for it when I didn't even register for the network. I canceled it like 6 months ago, and I get this notification that they charged me $10 for it. I don't know where the fuck that came out of. Uh, and furthermore, I'm not giving any more of my money to WWE ever again. They have enough of my money as it is, and they don't deserve one more penny. So maybe I'll catch it online or some shit like that. But I'm looking through all these matches, right? And it's all Raw versus SmackDown. There's no title belts on the line. Like, how can you have a fucking. And this is like one of their main pay per views, right? Because you got, WrestleMania is obviously the gold standard. But then you got SummerSlam, which is like your number two. But then Survivor Series is always like their number three pay per view of the year, pretty much. I mean, it's a big pay per view. Um, it's been around for a long ass time. They always have it every year. Um, and they've never done it like this before, where it's just all Raw versus SmackDown and no titles on the line. There's always been belts on the line. Yes, they've had their traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, but they never done like these champion versus champion matches. I mean, if you want to do one of them, okay, but how is a belt? How are the belts not on the line? I mean, that's like your standard at a WWE pay per view. Like every belt or most belts are on the fucking line. How can you have a pay per view with no belts on the line? So, just looking through these matches here, you got Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, AJ Styles, Keith Lee, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, and I guess they're calling him Riddle now, not Matt Riddle for some reason. Whatever. So that's your Team Raw participants. Uh, and then you got Owens, Jay Uso, King Corbin, Seth Rollins, and Otis on SmackDown. Yeah, King Corbin. How great is that working out? You have people in the past like Jerry the King Lawler, King Booker, and then you get King Corbin, a fucking goof in a plastic fucking crown and a $10 robe that he probably bought at Walmart. I mean, it's embarrassing. How many years are they gonna keep trotting out King Corbin? Big deal. He won the fucking King of the Ring tournament, which isn't 1/100th of what King of the Ring was 20 years ago when people like Steve Austin won it. I mean, get him the fuck off of television with this stupid King gimmick. It's going nowhere. He's been the King Corbin for what, fucking 2, 3 years now? It seems like a fucking eternity. I mean, he's a perennial mid carder. That's what he is. And then you got this fat ass goof Otis who probably needs one of those fucking weight loss surgeries. I mean, this guy has to be about 800 pounds. I mean, I'm surprised the ring hasn't collapsed when he's been in it. And I can't believe they gave him the fucking money in the bank. I think they took it away from him. But he is a big fat ass goof. And I cannot believe he is on the main roster. And then I saw him with this nice looking bitch on TV. It's like, how is that even realistic? How would that guy pull in a fucking niner? I think her name was like Maddie, or I forget her name. But how would that fat ass, ugly ass motherfucker pull in a nice looking, I think she was a blonde, like her? Just a retarded character. And he talks in this weird way like he's fucking autistic. Like he had a fucking brain injury when he was a little baby, like he was dropped on his head. He talks in this weird way and he like snorts, and I don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then of course, because WWE wants to be politically correct and act like women are equal to men in every way, they have to have, of course, the 5-on-5 women's match up here, because if they didn't, that would be sexist. That would be demeaning towards women. It'd be misogynistic. Women's rights, feminism. Yeah. So Team Raw, you got Nia Jax. I can't believe she's still employed with it. Another reason, she's the female equivalent of Roman Reigns. if she was not related to The Rock, she would be working in a fucking Speedway gas station right now. But because she's related to The Rock, she gets an automatic spot in WWE, just like Roman Reigns does. Roman Reigns, Nia Jax, they didn't have to pay their dues and spend 10, 15 years in the indies like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. No, they get right to the top because they're related to The Rock. Oh, The Rock, the people's champ. Too bad Nia Jax and Roman Reigns don't have 1% of the charisma of The Rock. So Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana. How did Lana become a wrestler? Lana, people were saying how hot she was. I mean, she's not ugly, but like she's not a 10 or anything like that. I mean, I'm not saying she's above average, don't get me wrong, but it's not like she's fucking smoking, but she's okay. But so she was Rusev's spokesperson, right? And then all of a sudden she becomes a wrestler. I mean, is that how desperate they are for women wrestlers? They just elevate Lana to the top. Lacey Evans, and I don't even know half these people. Peyton Royce versus Team Smackdown. Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Bayley, and Natalia. I never heard of half these people. That'll probably be a boring ass fucking match. Then you get Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn. I mean, Bobby Lashley, really? I mean, again, they're so desperate for has-beens that they bring back Bobby Lashley. I mean, they can't create any. Again, here's another example of them not being able to create new stars, so they have to bring back people who really weren't even that great. Bobby Lashley was not. I mean, he was a name, but not like he was a top guy or anything like that, right? Versus Sami Zayn. And then you also got the New Day. I can't believe the New Day are still a thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the New Day were good and everything like that, but I mean, it really seems like they're dragging them out. I mean, they've been together for what, 6-7 years now? It has to be. Versus the Street Profits. Azuka versus Sasha Banks. And then you get Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. And I've ranted, and you all know my thoughts on Roman Reigns, so I'm not going to go off on Roman Reigns. But Drew McIntyre, he was always a jobber when I was watching. He had to be a jobber for like 3, 4, 5 years straight. I mean, not even close to being in the mid card. He didn't even get the honor of being IC title. Of getting the IC title or even the US title, and those titles were absolute horseshit. They were treated like shit, and not even he could win those when I was watching. And then all of a sudden, I see on Bleacher Report or on Twitter that he's a WWE champion. Like, what the fuck? Like, how did that? How do you go from jobber to top star? Like that's not how it's supposed to go. And I never saw anything in him. Like, he wasn't terrible, but I never saw any. I wasn't like, wow, this guy's a really great wrestler. This guy can really cut a promo. Like, no, I don't see anything special in him. I was watching this gay ass backstage segment where Sheamus, who's a heel, apparently gives Drew McIntyre like a sword or some shit from Ireland, supposedly, and he comes out with it and he like sticks it in the ground. I mean, how fucking gay is that? I mean, it's just stupid. Like, it just makes him look like a fucking retard. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe Roman Reigns will impress me. Maybe he will get better. We will see. And then you get apparently this dual brand battle royal. So we'll see how the fuck that goes. I'm not sure what that will entail, but we'll see. But there's your 7 matches for Survivor Series. And I said in my last video that WWE cannot create new stars, and with this whole NXT thing, it's like a revolving door. It's like people just keep going through, and then they go on the main roster and they really don't become top stars, and then they leave the company or they go wherever, and then you get a new batch of NXT stars, and it's just the same thing. Like, none of these people ever become top stars. Yeah, they put on some nice matches and shit. Yeah, they do some nice moves off the top ropes and some nice high spots, but they don't amount to anything. And it's not like I stopped watching this company 10 years ago. I stopped watching a couple years ago. And a lot of these guys, I don't even know. I don't know Keith Lee. I don't know Matt Riddle. I never watched Otis. I never watched uh, Baszler, Lana, Lacey Evans, Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan. Uh, I never watched the Street Profits. Hardly watched Azuka. Drew McIntyre was still a jobber when I was so you see all these people from NXT that they brought up to the main roster. Hardly any of them have amounted to anything. And you look at the top guys in this company right now. I mean, none of them were in NXT recently. I mean, where are all these guys that were in NXT? You know, like, none of them have really amounted to anything, right? I mean, you could make the argument Kevin Owens, but I mean, he was only in NXT for a little bit, and you know, he was basically a top guy the second he got here, you know. But a lot of these other guys, it's like, well, you hear about all these names in NXT and then they amount to nothing. Like, and like I said, like, it's great that you could do all these athletic moves. That's a good asset, but you need more than that. You need storytelling, you need storylines, you need the non-creative team to produce good content and to produce good storylines and to help these people create a good character for themselves. I mean, why is Steve Austin regarded as one of the best of all time? It's because of his character. It's because of his charisma. It's because he had the X factor. Not because he did a fucking 820 splash off the top rope through a table onto fucking thumbtacks. No, it's because he fucking was a great character. He was charismatic. He can cut a good ass promo. Um, and again, to finish off this video here, I don't want to go too long because I get worked up about this shit. You know, I don't want to get my blood. I'm about to go to sleep here, and I don't want to get my blood pressure up before I go to bed here. But just to see every match being like a Raw versus SmackDown, a champion versus champion match is just strange to me. Like, how do you not have a title match on a fucking pay per view? It boggles my mind. Um, and a lot of these people that I see on this card are unfortunately like perennial mid carders. You know, and this is what I mean by they don't amount to anything. You know, Sami Zayn. Oh, he's the IC title for what the 12th time. I mean, he's just keeps being in the fucking mid card, and you know that's fine for some people, I guess, to just always be in the mid card, um, but you know, eventually it's like, you know, I don't know. You know, you got to build new stars, right? You know, and the same thing with Kevin Owens, like just a perennial mid carder. Um, you know, Seth Rollins, it feels like, even though they gave him the belt and shit, like, you know, really didn't feel like a top star, just a perennial mid carder. Um, and it's like, yeah, you can give a guy a main event match here and there or a title run here or there, but like, you got to consistently do it before a guy really becomes cemented as a top star or a top draw, you know. And you know, people like Cena, people like Batista, people like Undertaker, you know, we go through the list of top guys in the past. I mean, they didn't become a top star in 3 months. They became a top star by being consistently in main events, consistently in top feuds. And you're really only going to have maybe, you know, four, five, six, seven people that are like that you really look to as, okay, who are my top stars, my big draws, my main event talents. Um, but on this current TV, you know, on this current with this current product, you really don't feel like you have that. You really don't feel WWE has developed those new Batistas, those new Cenas, those new Undertakers, those new Edges that are consistently in the main events, that are consistently headlining shows, and that are consistently drawing in the fans, consistently putting on good matches, and consistently cutting good promos. Like, you feel like you don't have any of that anymore, unfortunately. And again, it's because WWE has an inability to build new talent. So I might watch this show just for my own shits and giggles. I'm not expecting anything that great. Of course, you do got some talent on here, obviously, but you can have talent, but if the non-creative team hinders the talent, they're not going to be able to show their talent. So we'll see what the fuck happens. I might tune in and watch. Don't keep your fingers crossed, though, people. And even if I do a review, I'll be a little fucking rusty, right? I haven't done a review in probably months, so I might be a little rusty. But we'll see what I feel like doing. I know these pay-per-views sometimes go really, really long, so I may watch, I may not. But I just thought I would entertain that thought. Maybe I'll pirate it online. We'll see what the fuck happens. But going through this card, just weird to see champion versus champion matches all over the fucking place. But we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be a good show. Maybe it'll be a diamond in the rough. But there you go, people. There's my thoughts on Survivor Series 2020.